So,
what dirt is there on Daniel?
And the irony is he was the first person to seem to have big dirt on him.
Yes, it's true.
And how clean he came out the other end.
Or maybe his family just has so much money.
They buried the story.
Dear Shandy. Welcome back to another Dear Shandy Love is Blind recap, listeners. Hello, Andy.
Hello.
How are you today?
I'm good. It's not today. It's this evening.
Yes.
How are you this evening?
Okay, so we have to tell our Shandies what's going on because we've never done this before.
No,
We're recording this late at night. I sang a matinee today. I sang a performance last night and a performance the night before that. That's why we didn't have a recap for the weddings go out, because we just are so slammed with non-podcast work. But we really wanted to get this episode out as fast as possible. So we just watched the reunion and we're going to recap both the weddings and reunion today.
That's great. It's fresh.
It's
fresh on the table.
Definitely fresh. And we're going to see whether an evening recording works on us. Because normally we're morning recorders, Andy.
Maybe this will change everything.
Okay, so in keeping with tradition, we'll go through couple by couple. And so, for example, with Ben and Sara, we'll go to the wedding and then cover the reunion.
It's great strategy. Love it.
Thank you, Andy. Thank you. I should also mention that I'm so fresh off this opera that I still have, it's gross, the Vaseline in my hair.
Oh,
they put in there. I haven't had a chance to wash it out yet. So bear with us. It's one of those weekends. Okay. So we're going to go back to the beginning with Sara and Ben. Obviously, their wedding was the big cliffhanger. I got to say, I was a little surprised. And it's not because I think Sara and Ben belong together.
No.
I was just surprised that Sara would let it get to the point of a wedding before saying no.
Me too. Makes me wonder, is everyone just contractually obligated now to get it to the wedding?
Doesn't it feel like that?
Yeah, it does feel like that. I feel like I've been fooled. I don't like feeling the fool.
No, you don't. You know what? Yeah, we got a lot of comments. So since the weddings came out, we've gotten a lot of comments on a reel about Taylor and Daniel and how we were like, I don't know if this is going anywhere, because obviously we were talking about the whole following on Instagram thing and how we felt like
it's a good reason to think it wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah, and we thought it didn't bode well. Then she mentioned him being shorter than she expected, all that stuff. We felt that there was a power imbalance and people were like, oh, joke's on you. They're married now. And I'm like, okay, like, sorry. I just think it's natural to get it wrong. That's all I'm saying.
We underestimated his tremendous game, apparently.
Daniel?
Yeah, I don't know. He must have just done everything right.
Yeah. No, I mean, he seems absolutely lovely. I mean, he's the only man to get out of this season scot-free, I think.
Yeah, right?
Seriously.
Clean as a whistle.
What dirt is there on Daniel?
And the irony is he was the first person to seem to have big dirt on him.
Yes, it's true.
And how clean he came out the other end.
Or maybe his family just has so much money.
They buried the story.
Okay, but we're talking about the wrong couple, Andy.
We are.
We're supposed to be talking about Sara and Ben.
Oh, right.
Okay, so I feel like the show cracked down on the contractual obligation to make it all the way to the weddings.
Yeah.
Doesn't it feel like that?
Yeah, it feels ridiculous. It feels like how are we supposed to analyze whether a couple stays together or not when both parties in the couple are like, oh, 100%, we're definitely getting married. There's no question. Like, how am I supposed to argue with that?
Yeah, it's true.
Then it becomes a game of poker.
Yes.
That's not fair.
And it also becomes a game of like, what kind of person are you? Are you the kind of person that would do that to another person at the altar?
Yeah.
At the altar.
At the altar.
And Sara.
I mean, it's not really. It's kind of altar with a big asterisk.
It's also like the same altar for every wedding.
It
like,
is
how much does the altar really mean if it's the exact same altar? Probably some of the same decor, honestly. Yeah. But I guess I just didn't picture Sara doing that to Ben. And just based on the kind of person that I think she is. And that's, out of all the couples, her and actually Virginia too, I feel like there has to be either something super in it for her, like financially, or it would be super frowned upon, or I don't know. Like she would be given a very hard time.
Something doesn't add up. Because look, if you asked me, like, out of the pods, is this going to work? I'd say no. 100% no.
Right?
There's no question in my mind. There's no way this is happening.
We've been saying no about them for a long time.
Yeah. And then it gets to the point where it's like a day before the wedding or on the wedding day. And she's like, oh yeah, it's great. Everything's, And he's so happy. He's left smiling ear to ear. Like, how are we supposed to not think it's happening?
I think in her own vows, she said something about how she couldn't picture getting here with anyone else or something like that. I don't know. I guess they're supposed to word it in a way that leads you on, but
whatever.
Oh my goodness. I had to point out, and this is props to a Shandy who pointed it out to me, but Molly and Lauren were at the wedding together.
Oh, cute.
Isn't that adorable?
Yeah, they're friends.
I love that.
Enemy of my enemy is my friend. And also the friend of me is my friend.
The friend of my me is my friend.
Meaning they're friends and they have common enemies, so that's double friend.
I do think the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Oh, 100%.
It's insane
Always.
how true that is.
And that happens so fast. You know what happened to us the other day, which was hilarious?
Oh, yeah, at the park.
We're walking Ruby. And like, I don't know, maybe we were scooting. Like I was on a scooter with Ruby and I stopped and a woman was walking towards me and I felt like I stopped well ahead of her. Like there was like 20 feet between us.
Yeah. And you were also on a path where scooters were allowed. It wasn't like a sidewalk.
Totally. I wasn't on the sidewalk. I was on a scooter path. She was walking towards me and I got off my scooter and I was, like closing up the scooter and she made some nasty comment like, like don't mind me, that kind of thing. And I was like, oh, what the hell? I didn't do anything. And then later,
like 2 minutes later,
less than 2 minutes later, there was a woman who was yelling at her about her dog off the leash. And she was yelling back at her. And then we walked by and I said something to that woman. I was like, I made fun of her. And then next thing you know, me and the woman who had just previously made a snarky remark about me were bonding over this other woman.
Yeah, I want to stress it wasn't about her dog being off leash. It was the behavior of her dog. It was
her dog her tiny little dog was unruly in a wide open field.
The other woman we think was the one in the wrong. But it was funny how when you had taken a side, suddenly the first one really warmed up to you.
Oh yeah, we were best pals after that.
We were like talking about our dogs.
And we both knew what had happened.
100%.
We're okay.
Yeah, we're all okay with it.
It's amazing.
Okay, so how do we get onto that? Enemy of my enemy.
Yeah, Molly and Lauren. Friends. Yeah. That wasn't even important. Now we're doing a tangent about something that no one cares about.
Okay, so we get a lot of B-roll now of Ben not looking that upset.
No.
It seemed like he didn't really believe. I felt like he thought he was playing, we're going to date. It's fine. We're going to date. We don't need to get married.
Yeah.
But has been like, honestly, the whole reunion, like, do we even need to talk about this? What the reunion, I think, sums it up perfectly. It's we said this. We're like, even if they get married, can you maybe now? Honestly, it's funny now. It's like if they got married, it's so funny how
ridiculous.
Instantly the idea of them being married is a joke.
Right.
It's such a joke. So let's unpack what happens at the reunion. So it seems like they kind of got back together for a little bit, which I was surprised by, and I think really speaks to Sarah's people-pleasing ways.
Mm-hmm.
Even after the wedding, she's in the car and she's apologizing over and over again to her family, which I was like, stop apologizing. And even her friends were like, stop apologizing. But I have to admit, I like this about Sara. Like I would also be apologizing.
Oh, yeah. Oh, totally. Yeah.
Yeah. You just be like, you all got dressed up for this and it was for nothing, blah, blah, blah. So I related to her on this front. And I do feel like the fact that they got back together at all, I think she felt really bad about hurting him. And it sounds like he was so convinced they were going to date. So then they start dating. It's sort of like, none of the problems are fixed. The things that she had an issue with about him were not fixed. You know, I think that really speaks volumes about the kind of person she is and how she does sort of give in.
Right.
I feel we watched her all season give in.
Yeah.
And she said at the reunion that she felt like she fell for it with Ben. She felt she was love bombed and all these things. I think that that's partly true, but I also think Sara is a chronic people pleaser and will bend over backwards to be what other people want her to be.
I agree.
Yeah. Okay, so at the reunion, Ben immediately falls on his sword regarding social activism. He says he's privileged. He's learned so much, yada, yada, yada. I mean, I will say this about Ben. Unlike some other contestants, often male contestants on this show, Ben is not afraid to fall on the sword.
No. But he's also not afraid to make sure his image is intact.
Yeah, well, the falling of the sword on the sword is an image.
But what I'm saying is everything he does is geared towards keeping his image intact.
Yes.
From the beginning, even going on the show.
Yes.
This is all, let's face it, this is all about image. This guy went on the show for all the wrong reasons.
Yes.
We knew it from the beginning. It was proven over and over again, especially now. And this is just image preservation.
So does it still count? That's the question.
It counts, but I also am suspect. I'm allowed to be.
Yeah.
Because everything he does is to protect Ben, the look of Ben
Yes.
to the public.
Yes.
And this is definitely where you do not want to be the bad guy.
Mm-hmm.
So he's willing to fall on a sword. It's swallowing pride to preserve image.
I guess I just don't see the harm in that.
No.
Like, I would rather someone, even if it's just to preserve their image, I would rather they fall on their sword.
It is by far the lesser of two evils.
Yes. If they're not going to show complete and absolute contrition, at least this is like,
well, put it this way. I would have liked in this situation to hate on Ben. I am now unable to hate on Ben.
Because of the falling
what he
on the
did.
sword. Yeah. Okay, so we'll get to the juice now then. She brings up the TikTok and says that now she's not so surprised that the TikTok was about Ben. And now she shares the story about how they lived together for 2 weeks after the wedding. They made an agreement to meet in Nashville. She drove 12 and a half hours to get there.
That's a long drive.
She was talking to her girlfriends about them coming to visit, how there might not be room because they would be living there together, her and Ben. And he ghosts her. Like, what was that? He took her off the Find My Friends. Is that a thing?
I don't even think about it. That's something you do. I don't.
Find My Friends?
I guess that's
Is that a thing? So your friends all know where you are all the time?
That's kind of weird. What's
Why?
going on in this world?
When they talked about that, I was like,
It's like, I'm glad I'm out. I'm glad I'm out. Like I'm not in the
Of the
thing.
loop?
Yeah, I'm out of the tech loop now.
Yeah.
I don't want to be finding my friends. I don't want my friends to be finding me all the time.
yeah. So it's like Find My iPhone, except you know your friends' locations.
Why do you need that? Why do you need that?
I feel like for me, the only time I use that is when we're trying to meet up.
Yeah.
There's a little confusion.
1 hour.
Oh, like we're in
I
Central
share it
Park.
even for 1 hour with you. Sometimes I'm like, do I really want Sharleen to know where I am for the next hour?
Excuse
no,
me.
I'm just kidding.
No, I feel like when we do it with each other, it's like for an hour.
An hour.
I respect your privacy.
Yeah,
And I like that you respect mine.
absolutely. I don't need to know where you are.
And I mean, I know your phone password. So.
Yeah, that's all you need.
And your laptop password.
Wait a minute.
Yeah, I was just sort of shocked that this is a feature that people all seem to employ.
Well, let's accept that it is, and let's accept that he chose to abandon it to thereby
He didn't deny
seal his ghosting.
Yes. Well, he did not deny any
No.
of. And what was funny is usually when someone has like their version of the story,
No.
there are more discrepancies in it, but his version wasn't any different from her version. He was just like, oh, it was my understanding
that's
that
what
we
happened.
were broken up.
Yeah, no, sorry, sir.
Yeah, I thought Sara kept it together pretty well, to be honest. You know what I did feel was sad about Sara at this reunion is I felt she had lost her. She had this wide-eyed, almost naive, but like endearingly naive, like this spark, this trust, this sort of a hope to her throughout the season that I felt in the reunion had been dimmed at the very least. Yeah. It's like she had been duped by someone and now she was like a little jaded.
And it's also very hard. I have to take a side here. I think we both take the same side. It's very hard to believe Ben's version of the story. I'm sure there's like 10% truth there, but it's got to be like around 90% for Sara. That's my opinion.
Yeah. And I this is my issue with Ben is I feel like his version of events never takes into account nuance, which I feel Sarah's does. Like he's like, well, I sent you an apology. You never replied. And she's like, the apology was clearly not authentic. Like you used my own wording. It clearly was rehearsed or blah, blah,
he was
blah.
logging it in. He was filing it.
Yeah.
He was filing the apology. So he had the receipt. Look, I sent an apology.
Yeah. And I think that matters how authentic the apology feels. But of course, he's still able to be like, well, you didn't reply to me.
Well, this is the same. This is the apology from the guy who called her to say we should rehearse for this reunion to make sure it's good.
He didn't use the word rehearse,
Oh,
Andy.
sorry. Excuse me.
But even that, the semantics of that. He's like, I didn't use the word practice. And she's like, rehearsed. He's like, I don't think I used that word. She's like, okay, well.
Not the point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Like you better have a better excuse than just, I didn't use the word practice.
I'll say Ben had no ground to stand on. It was pretty clear. And Sara was kind. Sara's not the kind of person who goes for the jugular.
No.
I felt like she was just like, I'm gonna put my truth out there, but I'm not gonna crucify him.
Yeah. And we also learned that he met up with Jimmy, who told him that he should be on good terms. You can't even talk about Jimmy without cracking up.
I mean, this guy.
Jimmy, how funny is it that 2 out of 5 of the best ever moments of Love is Blind history in 5 years were Jimmy. 2 out of 5. No one else can say that.
No.
How amazing is that? He is a legend. Sometimes, like, honestly, just looking at Jimmy's face in those clips, I started laughing.
He's funny. He's naturally funny.
Yes.
He doesn't have to do anything.
Exactly.
He's a comically tragic figure.
Okay, so overall, Sara's issue with Ben was his lack of curiosity. She felt she never really knew him, and she thinks nothing about his appearance on the entire season was authentic, which
I agree.
I gotta say, were we not saying this?
Yeah.
We were kind of saying it about both of them, but I think she got lumped in with it.
No, I think she fell for it. And she admitted it.
Yes.
And I thought that was impressive, that she was like, look, I got fooled. I got duped.
You know what? I agree. That is impressive that you can just say that.
Yeah.
She could have spent more time pointing fingers at him, not to say that she didn't point any fingers at him, but she also just owned the fact that she was duped.
Yeah. She's almost respecting his game in a way.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he outplayed me.
Totally. So, we called him an actor.
Yep.
And Andy, I think you called that from like the get-go. You're like, guys like this don't exist.
No, he was very transparent. That's why when it started to seem, again, I feel duped myself, like they were going to get married. I was just like, really?
Yeah.
How is this happening?
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Well, I think what was meant to happen happened here.
I agree.
Hey, Andy, catch.
What is this one? I don't use this.
That's the tinted OS1 shield. Your OS1 shield is not tinted.
Oh.
Yes. So
why don't I have tint?
Do you want tint?
Will I look weird with tint?
It's up to you. Okay. I don't think
I'm going to try the tint.
Okay. So OneSkin, clearly we're all souped up with our OneSkin products. We love OneSkin because OneSkin is not only wonderful skincare that agrees with our skin, but it's also revolutionary. It is scientific. It is groundbreaking. Thank you. Because OneSkin was founded by 4 skin longevity scientists. That's kind of a big deal.
It is.
They have developed the proprietary OS1 peptide, which, get this, combats the senescent cells, aka zombie cells in your skin. We all have it. And these zombie cells contribute to sagging, fine lines. They are considered dysfunctional cells. And not only are they aging your skin, but they're also affecting the healthy cells around them. So by combating those senescent cells, you could literally reverse your skin's biological age. Cue mind blown sound effect.
And the reason they call them zombie cells is because zombies make more zombies.
Yes. So I have here the OS1 eye. This is the eye cream, and we both use this. This is the face, and then you've got there the shield, the tinted one.
And they've got over 6,300 5-star reviews.
That is a lot of 5-star reviews.
So OneSkin is the world's first skin longevity company.
By focusing on the cellular aspects of aging, OneSkin keeps your skin looking younger for longer.
For a limited time, you can try OneSkin with 15% off using code Shandy at oneskin.co.
That's 15% off at oneskin.co with code Shandy.
After you purchase, they'll ask where you heard about them.
Support Dear Shandy and tell them we sent you.
Give your skin the scientifically proven gentle care it deserves with OneSkin. So Sharleen, I have had a hard time looking you in the eyes today.
Oh, should I be wearing one of those "My eyes are up here" shirts?
Clearly, today's a Skims day.
It is.
I can feel it.
Oh.
I can feel it in my body.
Okay. You can feel it in your bones that I am maybe wearing my Skims bra. Today I'm wearing my Skims push-up bra. Can we talk about, the neckline on my jumpsuit is very open. I love how this bra doesn't show, but it also,
Oh, it shows.
it takes care of the girls.
Yeah.
That this sums up Skims to a T, is how they look after the curves of your body. I have several of their bras now. I have their t-shirt bra in literally 3 different colors. My favorite, the scoop neck bralette. Everyone knows I have those in a million colors. Literally all my underwear now is Skims.
There's a Skims drawer that's usually kind of exploding.
Yeah, Skims helped me overhaul and turn my underwear drawer into just a place of activity.
Turn your underwear drawer into a place of activity with Skims.
So shop Skims Best Intimates, including the Fits Everybody collection and more at skims.com and the Skims New York flagship on 5th Avenue.
After you place your order, be sure to let them know we sent you.
Select podcast in the survey and then Dear Shandy in the drop-down menu that follows. Okay, so we'll move on now to Joey and Monica. So this wedding, oh my goodness.
The skateboard. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say this right now.
Yeah.
You do not.
A longboard,
excuse me. You do not longboard into a wedding that you are not going to consummate.
Well, you don't.
I don't care how stupid a wedding it is.
Ooh.
Oh, well, you're saying Joey was on the fence until the end?
Yeah, no.
Don't even try that.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I think we were a little thrown off by that. This is the couple that I feel duped by.
Yeah. I feel, I agree.
And I feel stupid. It's not even like,
too.
I'm like, oh, they duped me. It's more like looking back at all their interactions, and especially Monica at the reunion, I'm like, ugh, I can't believe I thought.
I wanted to believe in Joey. I really did.
I wanted to believe in their lighthearted playfulness, but you do need a physical something or other. I started to feel doubt in that serious conversation at the conservatory. Remember, they went to some botanical garden.
Yeah.
And they had a meal there, and she mentioned the physical touch, and I was like, oh shoot. Like, when was the last time we've seen them kiss?
We've never seen them kiss.
Yeah.
And if we did, it was a peck.
Yeah.
At best.
That was the dawning. That was the emoji. You know the emoji that's like, and it's blue up here?
Oh,
like the blue is dawning on his face.
Oh,
that was me. I was like,
oh, is that what that emoji is?
I don't know.
Oh,
That's how I interpret
There's
that emoji.
several emojis that I'm ashamed to say I don't have no idea what they mean.
I know.
Do they mean they're scared? They're confused?
It's whatever you want it to mean.
I need to read.
It's sort of like the praying emoji. Like, I use that as
thanks
you.
or
but apparently it's praying.
It's praying.
I don't know if that's even true.
Who knows? Who knows? You have to ask the people who made the emojis.
There was one I was telling you to use. I was like dictating a text to you, and I was like, do the laughing, sweating emoji. And you were like, what?
I thought that was someone who's sort of crying a little bit laughing, but not a full laughing crying.
No, to me, he's like, ah, and he's like sweating.
Oh, it's a nervous laugh.
It's the location of the tear.
A nervous laugh. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
It's a very useful one.
Anyway, Joey.
This
is the thing about Joey. I think Joey, I'd like to shit on Joey because I don't like what happened here. But honestly, I think what happened is that Joey was pretty quickly not attracted to Monica early on.
Yeah.
And not like disgusted by her. He just wasn't, there wasn't the physical attraction or whatever chemistry you need on that level. And I think he faked it the whole way through, knowing that was going to be the deal breaker. And I don't love that.
No,
because
who could?
I don't like that, because that feels contractual. And I really feel duped by this because he made it seem like this was it. But really what he was saying the whole time was Monica's a great friend and I want to be friends with her forever. He was just replacing love and romance and marriage with friend. But he made us all think they were getting married. But the fact is that guy never planned on having sex with her for the rest of his life from the beginning.
Did they even talk about whether or not they ever... I feel weird asking this.
They never
did they ever mention if they had sex or not?
They didn't.
It's like none of my business, but did they? I'm curious.
If they did or they didn't, it's kind of irrelevant. I mean, because he clearly wasn't into the physical stuff.
No.
It's even worse if they did have sex, because then it's like, he's really just like saying no to the goods. The goods.
Well, this whole wedding day is like, I don't know. It was uncomfortable to watch. It was also... I don't know. It felt very disjointed, and like we were supposed to think Monica was excited, but also like even when she was meant to seem excited, it felt kind of uncomfortable. Yeah. And there was her ITM, her confessional. I call them ITMs on our Bachelor recaps, but here I call it a confessional when she says that she wishes her decision wasn't being dictated by what she thinks he's going to do, but it totally is. And yeah, I mean, she said no. And I don't even know. Do you think that...
He was definitely going to say no.
Yeah, I know. Oh, I definitely know he was going to say no. What I'm wondering is do you think the producers knew she was going to say no? And the reason I say that is because I felt this couple was a little more believable than, say, Sara or Ben.
Sure.
More believable than Virginia and Devin.
Oh, definitely.
More believable than... Who was the other one? Oh no, that's it. It's just them. But I felt that they were slightly more believable than those two, but they were placed in the weddings episode early on, and Monica was given the first yay or nay. And so I don't know. I just was sort of like, I wonder if they knew. Oh, of course they knew.
They knew.
They know
everything.
all. The producers know all. Anyway, so they both say no, and it's meant to be this like really amicable, touching, we're just good friends, we just weren't ready, yada, yada, yada. And that's why I'm so sad that at the reunion it had soured so much.
Yeah.
Didn't you find it really... First of all, we have to talk about Monica's look.
She looks amazing.
Amazing. Okay, I'm going to talk about fashion throughout, but Monica was one of my 3 best dressed. I loved this gown. It was so dramatic, but also really like in good taste. It wasn't like punching you in your face dramatic.
No.
It was just like elegant and kind of red carpet, but not, it wasn't obnoxious in any way. Her makeup, she just looked like a movie star.
Yeah,
she looked
like
amazing.
Breakfast at Tiffany's kind of look.
Yes, her hair, everything.
Yeah.
But she looked sad. And okay, so they have a back and forth here where she feels like a fool. Watching it back, she's like, it's so obvious that he's not into you. And that's when I felt stupid. I was like, I thought he was into her. Okay, so yeah, Monica says, watching the season back, it was clear he was never into her. She doesn't want to have to ask a guy to touch her or show affection, which I think is totally understandable. And this is her defense for never saying I love you. And I love that she said this because I think Nick or Vanessa was like, well, you never said I love you. And she's like,
yeah. How can you say I love you to someone who doesn't want to touch you?
She's so smart.
Yeah.
I love how intuitive she is. Like she reads the room. Joey says he could never get out of the friend zone and he blames, this was so painful. He blames her sister.
Unbelievable. He blames her sister for him not wanting to have sex with her.
This is where Joey lost me.
Yeah.
It wasn't at the wedding. Honestly, it wasn't even the physical touch thing because I think he really did enjoy Monica's company. I think that I think he was having a good time with her.
They're friends.
But blaming it on her sister.
Please. If I met your family and every single one of them hated me, it wouldn't have changed anything with you and me. I would have been upset.
For what? For never getting past the friend zone because she didn't trust you? Give me a break.
And she came around with him too.
That's true. Monica reveals now, so things get interesting here. She reveals that while they were still engaged, Joey slid into another cast member's DM.
Let me guess who it is.
Isn't it funny? The second he said another cast members, I was like, Madison.
Always Madison.
It's always Madison.
Love is truly blind. But DM is not.
Oh, God. Isn't it funny? Another cast member, the second we knew it was a female cast member, I was like, okay, it's Madison.
No.
Who else is it going to be?
It's going to be Madison.
And it's not that I'm blaming Madison. I just think that
it's not Madison's fault.
Not necessarily.
This isn't Madison's.
No.
You could blame it on her, but it's not really.
Well, okay. We'll keep going. So we learned that Joey told Monica that Madison had been coming on to him.
That translation, Madison was nice to him at a bar.
Well, let's talk about this. Because I do think that there is a type of person, man or woman, where their main default socially is flirtation.
Yes.
And I know this because I have a girlfriend who does this. Yeah. And then whenever guys like think that she's interested, she's like, I don't understand why.
Being nice.
I don't, but I see how she interacts. And I'm like, oh my God, she's like the flirtiest friend I have.
It's very clear to see how guys could feel that maybe Madison likes them based on her general way. I get that, but honestly, Joey should have known better.
Oh, right. Honestly, Madison could have been like coming onto him hard and it's still keep it in your pants, dude.
Yeah.
It was also I felt like fooled by who I've been led to believe Joey is.
I agree.
This was why it was so painful.
I agree. And you know what? I kept thinking back on how Monica's sister was like, he's acting. And I hate to agree with Monica's sister.
No.
I hate to do it.
Yes, we should.
But we
got to
give her credit.
She deserves credit.
And we should. I hate to say this again, but we should have made. If I were real detectives, this is a lesson learned. If the sister loves her sister, which I think her sister does love Monica.
Yeah, but her sister also said a couple things that were a little like
questionable.
snide.
Yeah, those things threw us off the trail.
Up until the wedding too. Her sister said stuff at the wedding that I was like, girl, but back off.
Generally speaking, I think give benefit of the doubt. If a family member says, I think this person's acting, they're not acting real, you got to check this. Yeah. Maybe we should give some credence to that.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah. I think we wanted to believe that Joey was really just this like heart of gold, longboard wielding, long
Forrest
hair
Gump.
growing.
It's like a nice, better looking Forrest Gump.
Yeah.
Sorry, no,
better
is that
looking?
too mean to Joey to call him Forrest Gump? That's kind of a diss.
Is it? And Forrest Gump is so
Forrest
lovable.
Gumpy. Forrest Gumpy was super lovable.
Oh yeah, Forrest Gump's like
he's like the most lovable character in the history of movies.
Didn't he make an amazing husband?
amazing. An amazing friend, an amazing soldier.
Yeah.
Forrest Gump was amazing in every way.
Yes.
If you wanted to talk about like astrophysics with him, probably not the greatest time, but everything else great.
A lot of wisdom about life.
Yeah.
A box of chocolates.
Great philosophy from Forrest Gump. It's a big compliment when I'm saying he wasn't Forrest Gump.
No.
I'm not giving it to him.
And I think he's that kind of guy that uses this sort of goofy, oh, ha, 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 long hair, long board, long hair, long board. I think that this is kind of his shtick.
It's a shtick.
And you know what's interesting? At the wedding, when his father came in, like his mother was like, I don't know, on a different planet, it seemed like. But his father was so straight-laced and analytical.
Yeah.
Like even the way he was like analyzing like a life spent with a life partner.
Yeah.
And Joey snapped into like, I feel like a version of himself that was like more father appropriate. And I don't know. I just feel like we saw the other side of him, like where he comes from.
Yeah. And no big judgment on Joey.
No,
I just think
he's more calculated than he seems.
I agree, but no one is that Joey. No one is the Joey we wanted Joey to be. No one is that. I mean, if you do find it, God bless. But generally speaking, a guy who goes on Love Is Blind is not Joey that we thought he was.
Is that what it is?
Yes.
There's no one as Joey?
No one goes on Love Is Blind as Joey, the Joey we thought Joey was. No one.
Oh, I feel sad about that.
I mean, is that really? Are you really that sad?
Kind of, because I want to believe in something. I want to believe that this guy wasn't like, Madison, I'm going to slide into her DMs and like I'm not into Monica, but I'm just going to see how far this can go. Like I want to believe that there's a guy that's just.
There is that guy, but he doesn't go on Love Is Blind. Okay. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
I got to say this show has a pretty unbelievable track record of casting questionable men. I don't want to say
questionable is a nice word. Terrible
men. And I think there's varying degrees of questionable, but I mean, how many seasons do we get through where men are like, there's just always something where you're like,
do you not think that's intentional? Do you actually think this is a mistake that they're casting these people?
I mean, what you're saying is a show like this attracts a certain kind of personality.
Right. And casting is smart enough to know who are going to be the ones who make the best TV. And the ones who make the best TV are not nice guy Joeys.
No, it's true. I have to admit, Daniel, who was the one nice guy of the season, did not make
terrible
the best
TV.
No, not terrible.
No, it's wonderful. I'm so happy for them.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. He seems like the most wonderful kid in the world.
Yeah.
But come on, how much TV are you going to watch of Daniel?
There's one thing I want to touch on about Joey and his mom before we move on. There was just something, it stood out to me so much. Seeing him,
the misquote.
Yeah, the misquote. Just seeing him with each his mother and his father. His father seemed so straight-laced, and Joey kind of I felt was like dutiful son with his father. And then with his mother, she just seemed much more like freewheeling, like such a free spirit. He seemed also like a dutiful son, but in a different way. But she said, she butchers his life motto, and we laughed so hard at this. She says, "You always say live, love, never forget." And he corrects her, "never regret." And we find out later that wasn't even right. We learn it's actually live to love, love living, and never regret, which he came up with after having seen, having loved his sister.
She turned it into like a POW saying.
I just thought this was so interesting that she would misquote him in such a dramatic way, like her son. And then she says, "I love you, Joy." And he says, "I love you guys." Yeah,
he kind of was like, he's like, "Oh, really?" He butchered my saying, my
felt
catchphrase.
Strained. The two of them together felt really strange.
As I said, no one can be. There are Joeys in this world. They're very rare, but no one could be Joey on Love Is Blind.
So anyway, regarding Madison, Joey denies all of this. It's kind of painful because it's pretty obvious that what happened. Sure, you could argue Madison is a naturally flirty person. What happened? He DM'd her. He denies telling Monica that Madison hit on him. Give me a break. Why would she make that up?
And also, come on, that he reached out to her just to see how she was doing. She was a friend.
Oh, he likes her pink hair.
He likes her pink hair. Who's going to fall for that?
So in the end, Monica says she thinks Joey's an amazing son and brother, but he was not a good romantic partner. And he's like, Yeah, that's probably true.
You know what I think Joey is? He's
What?
a good guy friend.
Yeah.
Like if you're a guy and you're friends with Joey, it's a good time.
Oh my God, we saw him with his friends on their wedding day throwing
having
a Nerf.
blast. I was jealous. I was like,
my
I don't
God.
have friends like that.
His friends were all Joeys
All Joey's.
in their tropical shirts.
Yeah, amazing.
Yeah.
He knows the guys. The ladies, he's got some work to do.
I think he can probably be friends with women.
Yeah, definitely.
Although even that, like now I'm kind of doubting a lot about him.
I
feel like I've been fooled. I will say
Who
this
knows?
about Joey. He is a better actor than Ben.
Way better. Yeah. If Ben had his acting skills, Ben may have a career.
Oh, he would be in Hollywood right now. Okay, so moving on now to Dave and Lauren. So hilariously, Dave says his sister's biggest worry about him coming on this show is that he would be painted in a bad light. It was pretty good.
Okay, so because he's such a good guy?
Well, isn't that interesting? Doesn't
why would you fear that?
Doesn't that sound like his sister knows him?
Yeah, it's like my biggest fear about you going out tonight is that you're going to get arrested for stealing stuff.
Oh. Lauren rightfully says that her emotional maturity was just light years ahead of Dave's. And I got to give Dave credit, at least with this. Dave, you know what Dave did right at this reunion? Talk about contrition. He had, I think, one job to do, and he did that job very well, which was apologize, take responsibility.
Yep. And say, I'm going to be better.
Say he's going to be better.
Learn things.
Say that she's the one who got away.
Yep.
He messed up. He put too much stock.
Look sad.
Look very sad.
Don't look proud. Don't roll your eyes.
No, just be honest that he put too much stock in what this guy was saying. He slightly blamed the other guy, but we'll give him that. Okay. Basically, he was.
I mean, the other guy does seem like a scumbag.
He does. Yeah. So apparently the other guy wanted airtime.
The other guy's he's a scumbag. Let's be honest.
I just don't understand wanting to come on this show in that context. I can't speak that personality trait. Because I also don't keep company with people who would do that. The type of person that makes something out to be what it wasn't, so that you can maybe be in a scene on Love is Blind. Why?
You underestimate the allure of fame nowadays. I think that so many people have some little morsel of fame because of social media that it's like an arms race. If you don't have any fame, it's a problem for some people. Some people don't care at all, and they're healthy people. But if you don't have it and you want it and you see everyone else has it, you'll do anything. You'll make a fool of yourself to get it. And that's, I think, what he did.
That's so interesting because I have tasted a tiny bit of fame, and it's not the reason you do things. You don't do things for that. Trust me.
No, I agree. But think about the people who eat Tide Pods on TikTok, right? I mean, if that's not a perfect statement about what's going on today, it's like people are willing to literally eat dishwasher solution to get a tiny little bit of fame.
That's surely
and not even good dish. It's not drink. I would drink maybe a cup of Tide, but
really?
the pods, no, I wouldn't do that.
Oh, really?
If if someone gave me $1 million, I might drink a cup of Tide. Probably won't.
Can't it make you very ill?
Yeah, you throw up, but the pod, I think could actually really do some damage.
Why?
It's very concentrated.
Could you do a whole load with one pod?
You can.
Do you get a lot for your money? Does a little go a long way?
Yeah, that's why they made the pods.
Does it work in cold water?
Speaking of pods.
Overall, Dave says he regrets trusting this other guy over his fiance. And when asked if Lauren's the one who got away, he says yes. And he kind of gives her that look. Although he doesn't seem as drunk this time.
No.
But Lauren, thankfully, is like, I'm not really buying it.
I'm happy to get away.
Yeah, you've had my phone number. But Lauren, I will say this about Lauren.
Class act.
She's a class act and she is fair.
Oh, yeah.
She is so fair.
She's an adult.
Yes. She could have come at him so much harder than she did.
Yeah.
And you know what? It almost felt like the energy between them. Oh my God. The energy between them was, to bring us all the way back to the pods, was almost like mother-son. She was like, I'm more emotionally mature. I'm light years ahead of you. And I don't think you're a manipulator. I don't think you're a narcissist, but you do need to work on your blah, 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 and your blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
She says, you have a lot of healing and growing to do.
A measured response to what he did.
Yes, so measured. But doesn't that even bring you all the way back when he said that she has such a mothering quality, a nurturing quality?
She's protecting him. She's even protecting him after he double-crossed her.
She's a good person.
Yeah.
She's a really good person. I mean, Lauren is really a lovely human.
But also adult.
Yes.
And she even kind of said it. She's like, I'm so much more mature than you. The one dig she made was like, you have no, like, I don't know what she said, but she said something, I'm light years ahead of you in maturity.
Emotional maturity.
And she's not only light years ahead, I think she's light years ahead of probably most of the people on that stage. If not, maybe all of them.
Yeah. Lauren, I got to say, in terms of like a flawless performance, what could you say Lauren did wrong?
Yeah,
I feel like you could say that something about almost everyone except for Monica.
Lauren gave Dave too much leash. It's too much. That was it. That was her mistake, was being too nice.
Yes. And Monica's mistake was being duped
Too
or wanting
heavily.
to see the best. Yeah. Overall, I actually think Dave got off pretty easy considering, but I think it was the amount of remorse he showed.
Yeah. But he got his licks online. I think it's done.
Yeah.
Like no one needs to kick that guy more when he's down.
Totally true. Andy, catch.
Got it.
What have you got there?
I've got a bag of food that in a pinch I would eat.
Oh yeah. Sunday's dog food. We're obsessed with this dog. You know who's obsessed with this dog food?
Yeah, we all know that Ruby's obsessed. And I'll tell you something else. I get great joy giving Ruby something that I know is good for her. She knows this sound.
Yes,
now.
seriously, when we get the Sunday's bag out.
Oh.
She's
on her
extra
heels.
excited. Okay, so what makes Sunday's food for dogs so special is that it is air dried. So the ingredients are tip top. They're as good as it gets. They're human grade. We all want human grade food for our dogs. The ingredient list on that is insane. It's 90% meat, 10% superfoods, 0 synthetic additives. But get this, it is air dried. And I think it says it all that the company was founded by a practicing veterinarian and an engineer. So, they know what they're doing over there. It's air dried, so it lives in that bag and functions like kibble in your life, but you're giving your dog the nutrition of fresh food.
All you have to do is look at Ruby and her museum-worthy
Should we show her off for this ad?
It's going to be mean. She's going to want this Sundays. Ruby, look at the camera.
There we go. Does this dog look unhealthy to you?
So get 40% off your first order of Sundays.
That's 40% off at sundaysfordogs.com/Shandy or use code Shandy at checkout.
Squarespace, where a beautiful website is made.
Oh, Andy going minor today.
Yeah.
Wait, why?
Because I think Squarespace occupies all aspects of life, the sad and the happy.
Okay. So Squarespace is where a beautiful website is made. Squarespace holds your hand in designing that website, even if you have no design experience. How cool is that?
Not one drop.
Yes.
I did. I am not good with the computers. I'm going to be honest with you.
You're not bad.
I'm not
for your
bad,
age.
but I'm definitely unnecessary.
It was so easy.
Squarespace allows me to feel like a superstar behind the screen.
Yes, because Squarespace has gorgeous templates, website templates for you to choose from. And then you can plug and play your information, your business's information. And then you can add all these cool features like a blog, a mailing list, like member areas. You could have different gallery options. You can have scheduling through Squarespace. You can do e-commerce. You can sell product. All these things that really make the website yours and make your business do what it's meant to do.
Yeah, if you haven't already gotten Squarespace, I'm just curious, what's wrong with you?
Okay. No shaming, Andy. We don't shame here.
Sorry. So go to squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Shandy for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain.
Again, that's squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Shandy for 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Okay, so now we are at Devin and Virginia on their wedding day. This one had us shaking in our shoes a little bit, honestly.
I was a little worried.
But once again, afterwards, I feel like an idiot for ever thinking that this could have been.
I know.
This show is kind of frustrating to watch. I feel like I am just being played a fool over and over again.
It's rigged.
It is.
They obviously are, there's some incentive, whether it be contractual or financial, to get to the altar.
Yes.
And it ruins it. It doesn't ruin it. It kind of makes another layer of ridiculousness. But in the end, even the greatest detective cannot determine because they're both saying, yes, 100%, this is happening. And then you're like, no, it's not happening. But what am I supposed to do? Just not believe the person who's saying they're about to get married in a couple of hours?
Totally. Well, Virginia already, like right off the bat, is talking about what a nice guy.
Oh,
Devin
always beware the nice guy.
Andy, you said that's all she cares about. We were worried that him being nice was going to be.
That was it. Can you imagine marrying just because this guy's nice?
But honestly, looking back at this wedding day,
No.
knowing that, knowing
she
what
was
happens,
so not doing this.
she looked like she was headed to walk the plank.
Yeah.
Like that feeling of dread.
Yeah.
Like I feel like we saw in her face.
But it was dread. It was also mixed with apathy. It was just like, she was like, ugh.
Apathy, I think, is too. Maybe you saw apathy. I saw, because Virginia is so. I mean, we've said multiple times this season, or I've said multiple times this season, that she feels very sedated.
Yeah.
They both feel sedated.
Yeah.
But Virginia, I think, dread looks like maybe apathy on her, but it's more so dread. Like I think she cared. You know what I mean? You think she didn't?
She cared. All she wanted to do was to just be with a nice guy.
Thank you. Oh God, she's so great.
She's great.
Virginia was
MVP for me.
Oh my God.
MVP.
I
love her. I want a spin-off.
I know. I'm a big Virginia fan.
I need to hear her.
Too.
She's ASMR. I want to hear her tonight before I go to sleep.
The moment we felt this was over was when she's getting ready on the wedding day, and his mother and sister come in to like hug her and greet her, and her reaction to them.
This was it. This is where I was like, I don't care what they're trying to dupe here.
Yeah.
It's over.
Oh, yeah. The way she responded to them felt like...
Oh, she was like, no, sorry. Don't get too close here.
She looks like physically uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Physically. It was like she had a disease and wasn't allowed to tell them that she had a disease, but she didn't want to give them the disease. So she was just like... She
was telling them with her eyes that she wanted them to stay like 6 feet away from her. Like social distancing.
The one thing we couldn't figure out, Andy, you said religion is the only monkey wrench for me. Because I think the fact that they were, they both are very...
They bonded over their religion.
Yes.
Their faith.
Yes.
But that's not enough to float the boat.
No. Okay.
Not Virginia's boat.
No.
Maybe some people, but not Virginia.
But you know what I like about Virginia is I like that faith means to her what
interpretation.
She interprets it the way she wants to. And like, this is a truth, the difference between faith and values to me. What bothers me, I've said this many times, it bothers me when people consider someone's faith their values.
Yes.
They're not the same thing.
No.
And I think that she has her faith and she has her values, and she's made them fit like a puzzle piece. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I think there are some people for whom faith is like, oh, well, it automatically means this. And it's like, but who told you that?
When you're just a
Your
robot.
parents, like Devin's parents voted a certain way, or like the church tells them a certain something.
Then you're in a cult.
It doesn't fit. Well, the fact that he couldn't even, and she touched on this after she says no at the altar, he couldn't argue why, and not even argue. He couldn't even defend his stance.
No.
It was just like, well, this is what I believe. And it's like, there's no reasoning. There's no discussion. And I understand that he didn't want it to be on camera. And it sounds like she protected him a lot.
Yeah.
But we learned later on at the reunion, oh my God, how amazing was it? How she threw him under the bus in the most elegant of ways.
Oh, it was, elegant and not that subtle.
No.
It's like, I'm not going to say what he was in favor, but I'm going to tell you what I'm against.
He didn't deny.
Oh, no. It was pretty obvious where he stood.
Okay, so at the wedding, she says no, and we were deeply relieved, but we were laughing when she leaves. And Devin's niece says, what's happening? And then his father has to lean over and be like, she said no.
I think she probably should have been alerted to the possibility before the wedding.
It kind of felt like his family didn't realize how much of a possibility this was.
Yeah. You got to understand, like when a girl is like, what is she, like 3-4 years old tops? She's going to a wedding. She assumes that the people get married.
It's so true. And all I could think was this little girl now.
She's traumatized.
Like, how many weddings has she been to? Probably very few, if any.
I mean, I'm not even joking. Like, she's going to have some issues around weddings.
I agree. I feel like she now is going to have a bit of like, around
some
weddings.
Guy's going to propose to her and she's like, oh, really? Are you going to leave me at the altar? He's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, it's a concern. Virginia, in her confessional, says that she wanted to protect Devin, but he didn't want to talk about certain things, and the relationship never went deeper. And she brings up the politics / voting with faith in mind thing, and how it wasn't his beliefs that were off-putting. It was more so how the conversation was handled. And I could not agree more. This was my biggest beef with that discussion.
No.
Last week was like, well, what do you think?
Yeah, his communication style was an F.
What do you think? What? Like,
just
like
talk to
anything?
Me.
Like, what's going on? Yeah.
He didn't want to reveal to the people.
Okay, so now at the reunion, we have to talk about Virginia's look. Her look.
Ooh, that was a Luke.
A Luke.
Oof.
Oh my goodness. Her lob. Do you know what a lob is, Andy?
I don't know, but I like it.
Why don't you guess what a lob is?
It's when you put your hair to one side.
Okay. You have another guess?
No.
What if I tell you that you're right, it's about hair?
It's most hair is on one side and less on the other side.
Okay.
Hair parted?
No, it's a long bob.
I honestly don't remember what she was doing with her hair.
Okay,
I just remember she looked good.
She had it cut a bit, but it was like a bob, but a long bob, and it looked divine on her. And she had this kind of like pale purple, pale pink, embellished. It was like a bejeweled gown, but somehow it didn't feel costumey. It didn't feel over the top in any way, which I think a lot of these outfits.
No.
Sometimes these Love Is Blind reunion dresses, I'm just like,
yeah.
really? Was that the choice you made? She looked absolutely stunning. It fit her. Even, it fit her so well that literally in scenes where she was just sitting listening to other people talk, I was observing how it fit in her armpit area.
Oh, wow.
Well, because the armpit is an area everyone knows
it's a danger area.
Yes, where things can go awry, especially if we're talking like bedazzlements.
Yeah.
And the way it fit her armpits was just like, oh,
yeah.
She looked amazing. Mm-hmm. Amazing. Okay, so this is where she throws him under the bus in the most elegant of ways and says that
chef's kiss.
They didn't rely on values. She won't share his, but hers are, she's pro-LGBTQ, she's pro-choice, she supports other religions. And Devin does this thing he does, which I find so funny, where he doesn't actually respond to the thing that was said.
He's just like, I love people. I love everybody.
He says, I don't believe you have to agree on everything in a relationship. It reminds me of when they did talk about abortion in the previous batch. And she was like, well, I think a woman has, a right to choose what happens to her body. And he's like, yeah, but my issue is when I think the man should also have a say. Where did
that come from?
It was so not the counter argument. It was funny. There was a really funny Instagram comment we had on one of our reels. Someone was like, I don't know how these two even made a debate about abortion boring.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so Virginia mentions a couple of things now. A letter from an ex of his and made her kind of lose a little trust.
I don't buy that.
Yeah, he says that it wasn't so much of an ex, really. Or he didn't see this person as an ex. I think it was the fact that she hadn't been told.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like he's just not communicating with her.
He's not a communicator.
He makes molehills into mountains all the time, even if they're just molehills.
Yeah, same with getting a $1,000 check.
Yeah, that's a molehill. Tell her you got a check.
Yeah.
It's just like of all the things, he doesn't tell her anything. I feel like Devin comes home and he just doesn't tell her anything about anything. Yeah. He's like, how you doing? Oh, that's nice. Okay, good. It's nice to see you. Okay. He doesn't tell her you got a check? That's good conversation starter.
It is.
Hey, guess what? I got something to tell you today. I actually have something to say. I have a conversation to start.
Maybe
I got a check. Yeah, now look, we're going to have a conversation about something.
Yeah. No, seriously, what did they talk about?
Nothing. Ever. I never heard a single conversation except disagreements about politics.
Maybe he didn't want to bring it up because he'd already bought a pair of shoes with it.
Oh, that's low. That's low.
I couldn't resist.
Oh, that's too easy.
This gets slightly messy. It becomes a slight he said, she said, where it gets a little barbed. But overall, I felt this was really edited and kind of hard to follow, but the gist was, he wanted to keep dating and she, blah, 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 he didn't pick up the phone. And it just felt, it kind of led nowhere, to be honest. It was obvious these two were just
not happening. Just
so not happening.
And it makes me wonder, like, was it really just the politics? Was it really just the communication style? Was Virginia ever going to end up with this guy? Even if his politics aligned with hers and he kind of communicated about it well? No, I don't think so.
Well, it's never just any of these things.
No.
I mean,
it was a great excuse, though. A lot of people on this show don't have a great excuse. That was a great thing to hang her hat on. It's like, we don't agree on politics. Goodbye.
What I found funny is when at the wedding, she says she wasn't ready. Yeah. And then his family like really rolls with that. And his mother's like so pissed.
Oh yeah.
She's like, well, you go on the show to get married and now she's not ready.
I know. It's like A plus B equals C.
Yeah. I found that funny because it's like read between the lines.
Yeah,
like
come on.
that's not the reason.
No.
But I feel like if you think about the big breakups in your life, I'm talking about to you, Andy.
Me, no, my breakups.
And if I think about myself, like the big breakups, there were things. There were things like, oh, we didn't align on this, or it bothered me this, and yada yada. But it's not even. No. It's not necessarily something.
No, it's always an overall feel.
It's a feel.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm gonna out a friend of mine. She knows who she is. I won't name her name, but she was, this is funny. She was describing, she'd been on a few dates with this guy and she's like, I don't know if I should see him again. I'm just not really feeling excited about it. And I'm like, oh, well, maybe you could learn, like if you can't really pinpoint what it is, it might be interesting to like go on another date and like just try to like identify what it is, like, you can, because I'm always about like learning about yourself. And she's like, yeah, I just kind of feel like it'll just be draining. And I was like, okay, then don't do it. And then the next day she was like, oh, also he texts like this. And she demonstrated. And I was like, his texting was so horrific. I was like, how did you not mention the texting?
And then you felt bad for telling her to go on another date.
Yes. But it's something that you can't, it's not even the texting. It's like what the texting represents, the type of texting.
It's an ick.
It's an ick.
Once you get the ick, it doesn't matter what your politics are.
Yeah.
Whether it doesn't clean the dishes or leaves underwear on the floor. It's over.
Or
it's
that
done.
he didn't tell you about the check.
Doesn't
or
matter.
that, he didn't tell you that this friend was an ex-girlfriend. It has nothing. Or that his values don't align. Like she said, it's the communication. It's something else. It's the zing between the two of you. It's either there or it isn't. And it's usually not there, to be honest.
I mean, look at Lauren, for example. Lauren had a million reasons to leave Dave, but she didn't because she didn't have the ick.
Yes.
She still, for whatever reason, was in love with Dave.
Yes, you're right. That's a good reverse comparison.
Works both ways.
Inverted. Okay, so moving on now to Mason and Meg. So this is at the reunion. We'll end with Daniel and Taylor because of the happy couple. You know?
Of course. We
do that here.
Yeah,
we try to be happy.
Dear Shandy.
We don't have to force positivity here, Andy.
We love happy endings at Dear Shandy. Not to be taken out of context.
And Meg is my other best dressed. I had three. Meg in her high neck, cobalt blue, long sleeve, fitted gown. I think it was a gown. I wanted to see the back. I felt like there was potential for an open back here. And she had this curly bob. Oh, she looked amazing. She just looked so like she looked like one big sparkle in the best way.
Very striking.
Stunning. Okay, so Mason and Meg, we learned that they tried dating, but womp womp.
I thought I could tell by the way they were sitting. They were sitting in an inconclusive way.
There was a moment where she like adjusted and like touched his leg, and I was like, oh. I was so hopeful.
I know.
I do ship them.
I bet they still have some benefits here and there.
You think?
Who cares? They're not dating. That's it.
I wonder
Our
what
dream
happened.
of Meg and Mason has died.
Okay, so when
Madison was right. Just kidding.
Well, when Madison is asked how she felt when she first heard that they were dating, she's asked how she felt, and she said, I was happy for them.
Of course. She was over the moon.
Okay, so Alex and Mason are asked about Madison now, and what they agree on is that Madison was like two different women watching the show back.
Yeah.
And I mean,
we saw that.
I have to agree with this.
Yeah.
You know what's so fascinating about Madison is what a strong reaction she elicits either way. Like people either are like, oh my God, she's two different people. And then there's another camp that's like, she's a woman. She's got different sides and she's like strong and powerful. And she's playing this like a man is what a lot of them are seeing. And I just find it so interesting that one person's behavior can, like, how often do you see this? That not only will it give such different opinions, but such strong opinions.
Well, this is the thing about TV, I think. The people that draw the most controversy and the most attention are those that make very strong decisions.
Yes.
And Madison makes very strong decisions.
Yeah.
Not always the right one, not always the nice one, but she does it.
She Michael Bay'd the whole thing.
Takes a lot to Michael Bay.
She changed the course of this entire season.
Yeah.
Single-handedly. In not even involving her, just even in preventing Meg and Mason from becoming a couple. And let's be honest, she did. Yeah. I mean, even Meg kind of alludes to that later on in the reunion. She's like she kind of says, like, you ruined it for me too.
Madison is a squall, is a storm in the ocean.
Yes.
All boats land where they land because of that storm.
Yes.
And you can't avoid it.
Yes. I just wish that the storm had gone a little differently because I feel like Mason and Meg, I wanted to see how that unfolded, even if the ending is still that they don't end up together. I just feel like that they had a little zing, they had something that made it more interesting.
She changes history. She's the kind of person, there's a lot of people who change history like Madison.
Really?
Yeah, think about it. One person changes the course of history on planet Earth. There's been a few of them.
You're right.
I don't want to say Hitler because then people are going to take that out of context.
Talk about taking out of context.
No, I'm not comparing Madison to Hitler. I'm just saying Hitler changed history.
Okay, so Mason basically says Madison was very validating in the pods. He thought it was him, and he wishes he had said to Meg what he had said to Madison.
Yeah.
And Madison, meanwhile, thinks that Mason manipulated both her and Meg.
Oh.
It's so interesting how she feels that he was manipulative. I mean, because everyone knows, if you've been watching our recaps, like whose side we're on. But I know you could easily listen to another podcast that completely agrees with her and feels Mason was manipulative.
Are there podcasts that agree with her? I don't know.
I'm sure there are.
Okay.
I'm sure there are. Well, we did have a Shandy come to the opera. Oh. Remember, we had a Shandy come to the opera and she said that she listened to our podcast and one other podcast on the regular. And she listened to theirs first, their Love is Blind recap about Madison first. And she was like so distraught because they were really team Madison. Oh. And then she listened to ours and she was like,
palate cleansed.
I just think everyone brings to the table their own life experience. And I think I can totally admit that my perspective on Madison, like watching Madison was almost like triggering for me with like female friends I've had in my life.
We've all met and been with Madisons.
Yes.
And we know what that can do.
Us anyway. And maybe other people have been with Masons. Although this is pretty funny. When Madison accuses Mason of being manipulative, he says, and I think this was the mic drop moment of the entire reunion. He says, I appreciate that you think I'm smart enough to manipulate someone. I think it's pretty obvious I could never do that.
I mean, bravo.
I kind of know what he means. Yeah. It's not that he's not smart. He's not
crafty.
He's not crafty.
And
what a
socially
good word.
Adept. She's a little shy. He's like a little meek in social situations. Not awkward.
I think Mason's a little misunderstood, to be honest. And it's not that I'm necessarily like, oh, Mason's so innocent. Because I do think he kind of played it out with two women in the pods. But he did it no worse than Dave. In fact, Dave was way worse than he was. And you could argue Madison was every bit as bad as Mason, if not worse, in how she played two people.
We're team Mason, obviously.
Okay, yeah. So Madison keeps saying she gave him the out, yet he committed to her. And he says, Madison, the only reason I committed to you is because I felt pressure to do so. I got to say, this was validating for me. Yeah. Because I said in our recap for the first 6 episodes that the reason he committed to her was because he felt the urgency of her backing away. But here's the thing is, I don't feel, so it's easy for Madison to look back on this and be like, I was giving you the out. But I actually, and maybe this, I could be wrong. I felt that Madison came into that conversation with a bit of like a bone to pick with how he hadn't chosen her. And I think Madison's used to being chosen.
Yes.
To be honest.
She gets angry when she's not chosen.
Yeah.
And she lashes out.
Yeah. And I think it's easy to take what happened and spin it as like, I was giving you an out. Why did you do that? Why did you commit to me?
That's easy to say.
And let's remember too.
Talk about manipulation.
Yeah. And she took that and ran with it. She was like touched that he was, it's not like she said, oh, well, I appreciate that you're committing to me, but really I have another connection. Like she went with it.
Yeah.
She has a bit of like her version of history is always a little funky.
Yeah.
It's like she will cherry pick kind of like her receipts with the text with Alex, like cherry pick what she thinks will make the other person sound bad.
I mean, based on like some of the stuff we've learned about Alex and receipts.
Oh yeah.
These were some weak ass receipts.
Yeah. Madison.
The internet's like, hold my beer.
Yeah. I think Madison could maybe use some receipts lessons from Storytime with Ricky. So Ricky. I mean, the queen of receipts. I just felt like, okay, we'll talk about that now. When Madison pulls these text messages with Alex out of her.
Oh, you know what this
bosom.
reminded me of?
Oh,
this
what?
reminded me of the
tattoo. Oh, the nail.
The nail.
Zaina.
Zaina.
From The Ultimatum.
Yeah, where she had a QR code on her nail.
Yeah.
And it was like, okay. Who cares?
Yeah.
It wasn't even something good.
But then they have that soundbite. They have that shot to tease the reunion. To be honest, I was like excited about a good receipt.
I was like, damn, Alex is getting body slammed here. And I was like, really? You put that in your dress? You brought that on stage?
Yeah,
What was that?
The melting emoji, which
come on.
The melting emoji and the
fear,
the skull
the dead emoji that they showed up on their night one or their first impression dress.
So he's making fun of them.
I'd make fun of my friends too. That's not that. Who cares? It wasn't like he was like maligning his whole character.
Yeah.
It was just like gentle ribbing to someone else. Everyone does that a little bit.
Yeah, and by the way, we're not. I have to stress, we're not like, ooh, Alex is a great guy.
Alex, there's a lot of questionable things about Alex.
We've done our research. I finally read up on all the stuff, and it is certainly questionable. Nothing we can add to it here. Like we agree that it looks super questionable.
We got to recap in the context of the show. In the context of this relationship, the receipts were weak.
Yes.
And Madison doesn't have a lot of ground to stand on.
Yeah. But what I give Madison, what I love about Madison is she has so much gumption.
Oh, yeah.
So much determination. So even when she doesn't have much to stand on, she behaves like someone who does have a lot to stand. Yes.
She's always committing 100%. No half-stepping.
And it makes her phenomenal TV.
That's what people want to see.
I mean, that whole
when they're wrong, they want to see someone wrong 100%.
Yes.
They want to see them right 100%. They don't want to see someone's like,
Yeah.
Like, what do you think about abortion? No, but does a guy have any say?
Yeah.
No one wants that.
No, Madison is always up for a fight, always up for a debate, always up to defend herself, always up to throw other people under the bus. She's always up to not be wrong. And to also, oftentimes, not always, but oftentimes be the victim. She's really good at it. And it makes her incredible TV. And it was so funny to me how that entire sofa, it was Mason, Meg, and Alex. There came a point where she was like still going, still talking. And they were just like,
yeah. People on that stage are not a big fan of Madison.
So do we think it was just that sofa, or do we think it was the stage
I think people are a little scared of Madison.
Yeah.
I think they've either been burnt or they're worried they're going to get burnt.
Yeah.
I mean, look at anyone who's texted her has gotten thrown under the bus. I mean, you got to watch out.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. That's why when you talk to her, you just pull a Laura and you're like, yeah.
Yeah. You just listen.
Yeah.
You smile and you slowly walk away.
Yeah. I mean, she was phenomenal TV. Yeah. I cannot take that away.
Got to give her a hand.
Yeah. And I do think in the
future. Want to see her again. I want to see more of her.
Totally.
Am I a bad person for wanting to see more of her?
No, you're not.
It's good TV. You either watch TV or you live life.
Yes.
Which one? Choose one.
Yeah.
You want your TV like life, you're going to have bad TV. You
Yes.
want your life like TV, you're going to have bad life.
Mm-hmm.
No?
I kind of
it's a strong argument.
Kind of followed that. Okay, so finally, we are on to Daniel and Taylor. I have never been happier to be wrong.
Me
Although
too.
we were coming around with them in the last few.
Yeah, no, I felt like it was impossible that wasn't going to happen, but I still was like, really? That's
Well, let's be honest. That first batch of episodes was designed to make us think that they weren't going to make it.
But was that all a ruse? Like, think about how crazy that is. Like, she met this guy who she's now married to.
Yes, for a year.
And that was enough for her to try to kibosh it, to say that he followed her on Instagram. Come on.
To be honest,
what the hell happened there?
I almost wish that side of Taylor had been more fleshed out on the show.
Yeah.
Like, or even here at the reunion.
Why didn't that come up on the reunion? They joked about it.
Yeah, she poked fun at it. She was like, oh, he does this thing where he follows me, he unfollows me. But I actually think it's a fascinating like part of her personality. And I think probably very relatable. People who struggle with anxiety or like overthinkers, people who are like always looking for what's wrong in the situation, can't just accept a good thing for being a good thing.
Yeah.
And that to me was definitely worth exploring in a conversation. And it kind of let me down that they never really went there. Like she sort of alluded to it, I think, in Honduras about, oh, he's so patient with my overthinking.
Yeah. Well, I guess it shows that she's definitely someone who's prone to jumping to conclusions.
Yeah.
And maybe, working off her anxiety.
Yeah.
But I will say that I think what happened there is she genuinely didn't. I'm not saying this is like, I told you so, like I was right. No, I was clearly wrong. But I do believe her first impression in many ways was like, I want out of this.
I agree.
And I think that Taylor in her life, I bet you anything, has not dated nice guys. And I think in dating Daniel, she was like, wow, dating a nice, and Daniel, let me tell you something. Daniel is a nice guy.
He sure is.
He is this is a guy who spends 6 months of the year planning a Christmas
Photo.
Instagram.
Yes.
I mean, this is a nice, so nice.
Yes, wholesome.
And loving. He genuinely
There's
loves
no
her.
dirt. There's no dirt on him.
No dirt. He's grateful for her. He loves her. He kisses her feet.
Yeah.
And she had never experienced that. And she's like, you know what? Yeah, he's a little shorter than I like. Yeah, he probably followed me on Instagram. I mean, let's be honest. The guy followed her on Instagram. Who cares? And
it's romantic.
This is beautiful. I feel loved. I feel like safe. This is amazing. I want this. And I don't care if he's short.
Okay, good. Well, it is actually really beautiful. We learn on their wedding day that their relationship has been PG so far. They're waiting.
But they're ready to go.
They
are
were.
ready to go.
Super touching moment when her father arrives and she says she wasn't sure that he would be there for her wedding day. It was really beautiful because remember she had talked about how her father had been ill. And then on the wedding itself, another moment. So there's always one moment in the weddings episode that gets me where I cry.
You did? I can vouch for that. She cried.
I cried. Let's see if you guys were able to guess what made me cry.
This is easy.
You think it's easy?
It's so. I mean, I had to walk away. Like I was
you were
starting
also,
to well up.
Really?
Yeah, I had to go. I was going to get a snack when that happened.
There's always a moment, one moment, and it's never just like the love story. It's the something else. In this case, the something else was Daniel's sister Rachel, who is blind, born blind, playing and singing "Can't Help Falling in Love." As the aisle, walking down the aisle song.
I get chills. Yeah.
There was a moment, like I didn't even realize that she, first of all, she plays and sings so beautifully. When
I heard it, at first I heard it, but I had my back to the TV. I was eating something.
Yeah.
And I heard it. I was like, oh, that's a good act they got for the wedding.
Yeah.
Sounds good. And then you said, and I was like, oh no.
I was like, it's his sister.
Oh. I was like, I couldn't.
It was
too much.
So beautiful and so touching. And there was a moment where his father looked over at his daughter and smiled, and you could just see him taking in the moment and just being at a high in his life. It was so beautiful.
Can I just say something that maybe is corny, but it's isn't it ironic that the person who truly is blind is the only real moment we had in this entire series?
Oh my goodness. I cried. I was so touched. It was so beautiful.
There was not a single moment in this entire show that touched me except for the person who was actually blind.
Wow.
Yeah. Were you touched by any moment?
No, I don't think I was. Okay, so the wedding is beautiful. I gotta say, their vows were also really lovely.
No, these guys look honestly.
Sometimes, I have to say, sometimes the vows are like
they're canned. They're Hallmark.
canned.
These were good vows, especially hers. His were a little sloppy. He went off notes. You never go off notes with vows.
Yeah, he did
Big
go off
mistake.
Yeah, he went off
especially
notes
on
and talked
TV.
about how she could be. He could see her plugged into his life.
Daniel, stick to the notes, buddy. But great vows and great. I fully ship this. It's shipped. Is that the sound of a boat?
Oh wow! Good.
The boat always goes longer than I think it's going to go.
Yeah, it goes on and on. Yeah. Okay, so they both say yes, and we have a happy couple, Andy.
Yes, one solitary happy couple.
And as they walk back down the aisle, Andy, you said, so did he follow her on Instagram or what? Okay, so, and at the reunion, Taylor's quick to poke fun at herself about the unfollowing. I appreciated this.
Yeah, she should.
Yeah.
It's good.
And I think it shows that she can laugh at herself.
Of course.
They seem really happy together.
Yeah.
Very cute.
I could see this lasting forever.
And we learn that her mother, no, it was his mother, has been ill. And so that kind of occupied a lot of the Christmas. Yeah, it was, I just felt like they're a team.
They are.
The only questionable thing, do you know what I'm going to say? I mean, and I feel silly. I mean, it's not my place to criticize people's tattoo choices.
Oh my God.
I think that I was just shocked because when he said her eyes, and I thought it was just going to be like two eyes.
No, it was a photo of her eyes.
I wasn't expecting the rectangle of face around the eyes. I think I was just expecting just eyes.
This is what I'll say about this tattoo. If he did it as a joke, which it has to be a little bit of a joke.
I don't think so.
No, a little joke. 10%.
This
5%?
is a guy who plans his Christmas photos 9 months in advance.
I'm telling you, this guy, part of that even in itself is kind of a joke. He must know that it's a little funny that he does that. There's got to be some humor in it. There's no way he got this tattoo. There's no way he came home and he's like, listen, I have something to tell you. I got a tattoo of a photo of your eyes on my chest.
I'm all serious.
And she's like,
Yeah, but you say that, but like when I think back on that scene where they were getting that Christmas photo taken together, like it wasn't as jokey as you might expect.
I'm going to say right now, Daniel has a sense of humor somewhere under there. And that tattoo, he committed to, he gave his life to comedy with that tattoo.
Well, in that case, it's the funniest tattoo ever.
I'm going to give him credit.
All right. That brings us now to the end of the reunion, our number one moment in history. Love is Blind history. Andy, you called this.
I did.
When they said top 5 moments, you said number 1 is going to be Jessica's EpiPen scene.
Yep.
You fully called it.
Yeah.
I was blown away. You got it right.
That's the best thing I've ever seen on the show.
And then we have AD from season 6. Love her.
Love AD.
Yeah. And Ollie, turns out he's from Love is Blind UK. I'm afraid I have not seen it. But they seem really happy.
Yeah.
He ends up proposing right after they do this perfect match promo. Do you think they're going to be hosting?
It looks like they're going to be hosting.
I was confused what was going on here.
Yeah.
They didn't really seem like a perfect match couple.
No, I don't know. Who knows? All I know is whoever was the PA for that engagement scene on the beach. They couldn't figure out a way to get that straggler from not to walk in front of the camera.
Pretty funny. Ollie's on one knee proposing, and AD is like so happy, and then there's like a random man walking
who's
in the
staring
back.
at the camera. He's like, "Oh, what's going on over there? How the hell did they let that happen? Who was on watch?"
Okay, Andy, that is a wrap for not only this recap, but for this entire season.
This was a good.
Are you just saying that because it's the end? Don't be inauthentic.
I'm not
Andy.
a company man. This was not a great season.
I'm torn. Like whenever people, like I've seen so many comments online talking about how boring this season is. And while I think there have been boring aspects, I don't know what boring is with this show. Like, did it used to be way better? I'm getting the impression that it used to be more exciting.
Well, what I think has happened is the show has become self-aware. So people who go on this show know exactly what goes down. They know the pitfalls. They know how to maneuver.
Yeah, they become Ben.
They know how to game it.
But honestly, even Ben, to me, it is entertaining to watch.
No, I
like
agree.
Ben.
There's something about people who think they know the game, going to play the game, and then the game turns on them.
Yes.
That's cool too.
Yeah.
But
that's cool too.
It's cool. It's nifty. It's neat. But I think that, there is some of the magic lost when everyone on the show is kind of like, they're in on it.
Absolutely. Well, the next season is in Denver.
That's going to be good.
I
got a high. Let me tell you something. I'm going to call it right here. Denver, going to be the best season of Love is Blind ever. Actually, no. It's going to be the best season of Love is Blind
in
since
a while.
Everyone on Love is Blind knows what goes on Love is Blind.
Yeah.
So
It's
since
gonna be the best,
season 3.
Best season in a while. We've been to Denver a few times. I've done an opera in Denver. I think there's potential there.
Yeah.
I remember walking around that city and being like, look at all these eligible people.
And cool thing about Denver is anyone who has sex in Denver automatically joins the Mile High Club.
Okay. Well, what's hopefully better about Denver is that I don't feel like if someone has sex with someone that like everyone's friends are going to know about it, because that's how
Agreed.
Minneapolis felt.
Agreed.
I saw it. There was a really funny reel I showed you this past week. The guy who was talking on the reel was talking about what a small town vibe Minneapolis has, and how he went to high school with Taylor or something. Yeah. His cousin is Molly, and all. One of the reasons he wasn't cast is because he's related to other cast members. Right. And it didn't feel that way. I feel like that ended up affecting how good a season we were able to have.
I will say Denver's not huge either, but
oh really?
Yeah, it's not huge.
Oh, here I'm talking it up. I'm it's such a big city.
It's not too big.
Okay, well we'll see what the Shandy say if they agree or not. We do have a lot of Denver Shandies.
We do.
I know this.
Yeah.
Okay, Andy, that is a wrap. It's time.
It's time?
It's time for us to go to bed. We've had a day.
God, you're right. It's late.
Yeah, I can hear my voice. It's going.
Yeah, I'm getting raspy.
Yeah. Okay, if you enjoyed what you heard today, you know what we will ask of you, and that is to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, follow us on Instagram and
TikTok.
Leave us Apple and
Spotify.
Podcast ratings and reviews. Tell your friends and generally do all the things you would do to support a podcast you enjoy. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Whoopi. No. Yes, you came to mommy. Yes. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on Dear Shandy. Bye-bye.